This kind of reminds me of the way that you talked about joy and happiness, sort of distinctly, that joy is collective and happiness is an individually felt emotion.
Mhm.
That joy can hold pain and goodness in one breath. I love this because it doesn't deny the reality that all of us are experiencing. Um, and so I wonder, do you have ideas of how we can stay like linked in collective joy when maybe some of us come in feeling the weight of the world, whether that's the conflict in our families or the dumpster fire of the national political landscape or just global atrocities, right? Like, I feel like some folks come in with that, and other people also come in able to experience happiness probably more readily in their own individual lives. Um, and so I wonder, do you have ideas about how to stay linked in collective joy to start to strengthen those muscles so we can experience that more?
Yeah. I wonder if churches in general need to find ways in their church calendar and rhythm to both lament
Mm,
and grieve as well as celebrate
mm,
big and small things every week. That
mm,
was one of the things as kind of a regular churchgoer that felt so odd to me that it was always like on these Sundays, right? Like, yes, I think that there are important things to mark and um but like what are the things on a regular basis in which there is the joy and the grieving together?
mm.
So I don't have any easy answers because why would there be an easy answer? But um, so I will say because I've been writing for so long, I have a bit of an audience and a little bit of a community that has followed me over the
Hmm.
years, and
Hmm.
I feel very much that it is a journey that we're on together to understand ways in which we are trying to grow individually and then collectively. So we are
Mm,
recording this on the last day of September, which is my birthday month. And one of those
Hmm.
things that I began as a practice for myself, I have learned in the last couple of weeks is that others have joined me in this practice of celebrating their birthdays for the whole month. And not as in like I have a birthday party every day or a birthday cake, but it's this little intentional action of saying like I am going to do this because it is a joyful thing, or I'm going to look at this and I'm going to look at it differently and I'm going to think of it as a gift and
mm,
a grace to me and my community. And
mm,
I'm going to share that and invite people to say, oh, what is a meal that you prepare for others that
mm,
is something that is joyful and celebratory and means something to you that can mean something to others? And so, is there something like that that the church can be doing on a
mm,
weekly basis? I think that some churches do practice communion and they serve communion every week. And that can be that thing where we are recognizing the sacrifice of Christ, the body and the blood, which is not like a happy thing. That's not like, oh, that's kind of a happy, yay. But in that, we hold both the tension of grief and the
Hmm.
beauty of joy in community. So, is there something if you're not sharing communion every week? Is there something in the prayers of the people or um, personally, not my favorite, passing of the peace and greeting one another?
You don't like that?
I don't like that. I don't like, but some people love it. And
Yeah.
because some people love it, if I'm in a church like that, I am hoping that the people who love it are the ones who make a beeline for me
mm.
because, right? Because that is that genuine, like, I want to greet you. Whereas I'm like, you're not, you don't want me to greet you because I'm like,
You're like standing there awkwardly, like, how long
yeah,
is this going
it's
to
just,
last?
it's
Yeah.
so awkward. But But finding those things, because for me, that practice in my birthday month is not to ignore all of what's going on in the world. And I'm very much aware of what's going on in the world, but it is a practice to be able to hold those things in tension. And I think that is something I hope that local churches can do, because every Sunday you are gathering people who are celebrating and in deep grief, and they may be sitting right next to each other and probably are. And if we can't help bridge that gap, I think we've failed in the message of the gospel.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I would just say, like, my best friend died 7 years ago, and it was a brutal exit, really, really hard. 3 year fight with cancer that ended with a lot of pain. And strong believer, really strong believer, missionary, like this whole thing. And there was a church that we were connected to at the time where my kids went to youth group, right? And so I would go on Sundays, typically just drop the kids off, bring them home, like that kind of thing. We had another church we were also members of, I guess. Anyway, that doesn't matter. This church was really wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people, and incredibly triumphalistic. To the point that when they were singing hymns, they would skip, how it's like 1 and 2 are kind of the setup verses, and 3 is the dark verse, and then 4 is and then Jesus rose, right? They would skip verse 3. They wouldn't even acknowledge it. And I found it incredibly repelling. I couldn't even sit in the service because that's not where I was. I was in a place of real pain and grief and darkness. And to be told over and over, God is only good, there are only great things, and God always wins. It didn't feel like that in the moment for me. And what I realized is that we're celebrating resurrection without acknowledging death. And it doesn't work.
Right.
It's a fake celebration at that point, right? Like we have to acknowledge what we are overcoming, not just that we have overcome. So I think, yeah, we just have to be careful to be aware of those brokenness. We can't be kind without being aware of people's needs, right? And so yeah, we have to be aware of those hurting and broken places and acknowledge those alongside our celebration. Celebration is still absolutely appropriate and a big part of the Christian life. But yeah, not in the absence of acknowledging reality also.
Did you sing the third verse on purpose? I would have. I just would
No,
have.
I went out to my car and sat in the parking lot and cried every Sunday is what I
Ugh.
did
Mm.
by myself at the church.
Mm.
Yeah. Which I think is a great metaphor. I think there's a bunch of people
Yeah.
that's where they are.
Yes.
Their
Yes.
body is in the pew and
Yeah.
their mind is out in the car and they're
Yeah.
crying.
Yeah.
And there are people who are so gifted in our communities and recognizing those folks, and we need to
Yeah.
free them up
Find
to go
them.
find
Yeah.
them and make sure they're being cared for.
Yeah.